Tyron Woodley and Colby Covington coming up really, really soon, right?
Right.
And personally, I think it is an important fight for both of these guys because
Hmm.
uh, Colby Covington, he lost his last fight against Kamaru Usman, which was a title fight.
Hmm.
And Tyron Woodley has actually lost two fights back to back in a row, right? He
Right.
lost to Kamaru Usman and he lost to Gilbert Burns and he lost to both of them in a very dominating fashion.
Hmm.
And so this particular fight is really interesting for me. This fight can go in two ways, according to me, right? The first thing is either it can be a total wrestling match because see, Kobe Covington as well as Tyron Woodley, both of them have really, really good wrestling background, right? And there's a very good possibility that it can be a complete wrestle fest, right? Or it can be none of those things, right? Because Kumaru Usman and Kobe Covington, when we thought about that fight, we thought that this was going to be a wrestling match, but it was not a wrestling match at all. They both stood up and they had a striking match. But I do not think Kobe Covington would actually want to stand and trade with Tyron Woodley. I think we have always seen Tyron Woodley that he has a really good knockout power, right? He knocks people out and he has decent technical skill as well. Like he knocked out Robbie Lawler in a single punch. And if you guys saw the Josh Koscheck fight, the way he punched him, I actually felt that he took his soul with those punches, man. Those were some really really hard hitting shots. So this fight can go in this direction as well, right? Maybe Tyron just decides to use his wrestling to not get taken down. And then what he does is he stands and trades with Kobe Covington. And I do not think Kobe Covington would actually win a striking match against Tyron Woodley. But it's important to note that Kobe Covington has much better stamina than Tyron Woodley. If he keeps on applying the pressure and maybe he survives the first two rounds, I would really be interested to see what happens in the third round. Would Tyron have the stamina to actually trade with him in the third round? If he applies proper pressure, he's striking, he's trying to wrestle with him, and he's trying to take him down. I think third round would be very interesting. But if I have to make a prediction right now, which we all would be making, I think Tyron Woodley takes this match by decision.
Well, I would love to agree with that, but I really don't think so. Because the main reason that I think Tyron Woodley, I think it's going to be a decision. That's kind of where I agree with you, and that is because both of these fighters are not not as exciting as the people who are at the top. But as you said, Tyron Woodley and Kosek, that match where Tyron showed his power. I hated Kosek because he was a dirty fighter. I was happy when I saw that, and I was like, all team Tyron Woodley at the time. But again, there is a peak for all fighters, right? Tyron Woodley is going out of, he's not in his element anymore. So Kobe Colbington is also is he's not Kobe is also not in his element. As there's a saying that you cannot succeed if you're not true to yourself. You can lie to the entire world, but if you lie to yourself, you will get nowhere. So that's what I think Kobe has done in the past, and that's why he lost the recent fights, because he's trying to prove himself as a trash talker, as as similar to like a Cody Garbrandt or like Justin Gaethje, like an exciting fighter. He is not, right? He has to stick to what he who he is. That's the only way he can win. And if he can change that in this fight, I think Woodley is already on his way down, and we've seen this in many fighters before as well. Once your peak is over, you never return, you never come back. There are very few fighters who make a comeback, but again, they don't get to the top. They stay in the middle. For example, we discussed Jose Aldo last time. He is a very good fighter, but for how long? That's the thing. So Tyron Woodley is going is he's not in a good shape right now unless he makes it drastic. But again, I am going to contradict myself here. I thought if he makes a good change in his game plan, and he becomes better. We saw Junior Dos Santos all juiced up, and we had a little hope, right? But what happened
Yeah,
eventually? What happened eventually is what I've been talking about. That okay, fighters, they have their peak. Now UFC needs up and coming fighter, and the reason for that is like when you fight more, you take more damage, right? Your body, it's not, it's, even metal take damage, and you can see there is, if you keep beating a metal, you can see the damages. So once the damage is done, it's done, right? Tyron Woodley was at a peak at one point of time. Now I don't think he has it. And if Kobe wants to win, I think this could be a very boring fight. But the only way we can have it exciting is if Kobe decides to step up his game and stop being, an idiot as he has been in the past, and come to, and acknowledge who he is and fight as Kobe, what he is, right? Not try to impress anybody, not try to be the trash talker with the MAGA hats, not try to be the guy who's like, oh, Brazil, boo hoo, just be himself, and this could again, this, I don't think he can knock out Tyron Woodley. I agree with
Yeah.
you. Will be a complete, all round fight, and then I think a split decision is something that I think could happen in the favor of Kobe. I
in
think
favor
Kobe
of
is going to win.
Colby.
Yeah,
What do you think, Rajat?
I think Colby is going to take this one.
yeah,
Because as you see in the last fight versus Kamaru Usman, I don't know that was because of respect that no one was shooting for a takedown, or what, that other one will be embarrassed if the takedowns would be stuffed. But if we see Tyron Woodley, he faced two wrestlers with good striking, and he got dominated very badly. And as we see, Colby is a pressure fighter. He's not like Thompson, who is going to, wait for him to attack, and then they both are going to do a counter striking match between them. So I think Colby is going to pressure him for all the 5 rounds, and he's going to take the decision dominantly.
There's
yeah.
a very good chance for that, right? I agree with the fact that, Kobe can actually apply a lot of pressure. But you said good wrestlers with good striking, right? Do you think Kobe has good striking though?
I don't think so. I
I think
don't.
he is.
I I,
He
I
don't
really
have
doubt
power. He
that.
don't have power.
Yeah, he doesn't have power. He
And he
he's
don't have
he's good
power.
with the score. Again, that's why we're saying that he'll win with scores, but he will not be able. He'll never be able to knock out Tyron
He's
Woodley.
not a technical striker, right? Kobe Covington is not a technical
Yeah,
striker. One. Two, he's not someone who has a lot of striking power.
Hmm.
I don't see him
I
striking
agree.
with Tyron,
I
right?
agree. But
Tyron
if
is
you
a
see
more technical striker.
what Colby does best is that mixing his strikes with takedowns,
Yeah,
changing that
Yeah.
levels up and down, and he does it very well, very good. I
yeah,
think
he's
best in the
good.
division.
Agree. I agree.
And the pressure we have seen Woodley going against a fence when someone is pressuring him, and
Yeah,
that's
that is true.
that's always, I think that's kryptonite for him.
And yeah, and I think there's a mentality that a fighter fight with, and once that is broken, I don't think a fighter can actually, because even if it, when we are trying to succeed at something, we have this Viking kind of mentality that that we have to get into, like, okay, so I can do this, I'm gonna win this, and imagine if we lose, if we don't get that, it's really difficult to recover from that. I think it was Khabib who was doing it. Am I correct? Who was trash talking
Khabib
at,
is trash talking.
Who?
at the cage?
Yeah, Khabib generally trash talks to his opponent, when he's
Exactly.
fighting them.
Yes. So what he does there
When he beats
is,
them up.
yeah, because he what he does, he did that to Conor as well. So what Khabib does is he doesn't do it when during the press conference. He's not doing it for selling tickets. There's the Nick
Yes.
Diaz says they all say, or Nick Diaz says they are selling wolf tickets. They're selling Dennis selling you wolf tickets. No, so they're not doing it for he's not doing it for selling tickets. He's actually doing it because he wants to break you in the fight. Imagine this: you're fighting a guy who is on top of you, he's beating you, and he's like, you know what, motherfucker, I'm gonna win this. You know that I'm gonna win this, and he's on top of you, right? He's in position. He's in that moment, and you're down. Okay, you're getting punched by a guy who's telling you, okay, I am going to beat you. Okay, you cannot do anything about it. At that point of time, you're already thinking how to fight, and when that guy, which he's a master of these things, when he is already saying these things, he's breaking you mentally, he's taking your focus away as well, and that's how a fighter ends up losing. I think Woodley is also one of those fighters who doesn't have the same mentality of winning anymore. Okay? So even if he
I
if
think
he Mhm.
I think Khabib actually shows us that if a grappler would go to a street fight, how he
Yeah.
would fight,
Yeah.
how he would do that, that
Right.
aggressiveness, that the way he talks to his opponents, especially
Mhm.
not when the fight starts. That's when it got aggressive, and when it starts building up the heat, then
Right.
he starts to trash talk.
Right.
It's obviously,
Yeah.
I think that's what grappling will appear in street fight. I think.
Yeah.
Have you, did you remember the trash talking he did with Michael Johnson?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. You
That
yeah,
know.
was so funny. You know, I need to fight for the title. You need to tap out.
Yeah.
That was so funny.
yeah,
That was so. Yeah. That's
He's
that's how
asking
I
the
remember.
fighter to tap out.
Yeah. Dude, he was the
and
same for
that's
Conor
actually
McGregor.
intimidating to the opponent.
Yeah, it is. He
It
was he
is.
was doing the same to Conor McGregor. He was like, "Let's talk now. You want to talk? Let's talk now." You
Let's
know?
talk now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then he was saying shit to, he always talked to Dana White during. Imagine this: your opponent is not even sitting on the chair. He's like on the cage. He's talking to Dana. Hey Dana, how is my fight going? Like, are you kidding me? Like, who's gonna
He
fight
did
that
it in the
guy?
Michael Johnson fight too. Where's your boy, Dana?
Yeah.
Where's your boy? Tell him
I
I'm going
don't
to
know.
smash him.
Someone will say this or not, but I think Khabib is also a BMF
could
in
be.
his
A,
own
He
right.
is.
He
He
is a
is.
BMF.
Khabib
oh,
is a
dude, he
bad
is.
motherfucker.
Yeah, he is. He is.
Yeah, he
He
is.
definitely is.
See, people might not agree on his, fighting style. I'm pretty sure Akhil does
Just
not.
because, just
I don't
because
know.
of his,
I
fighting
hate.
style.
I
Just
hate
because of
it.
his fighting
I
style.
hate his
But
fighting
he,
style.
Yeah.
but he is a badass motherfucker,
He
and there's
is.
no doubt about it.